Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Ranking the Albums in our kind of effort to get and squeeze in some more prog bands this week. We're going to do a band a little more on the modern side. They've been around for, 25 years, a little bit more actually. But, for the most part, most people think of that as modern, right? So I want to give some love today to Spocks Beard, a great band from California that debuted in 1995 with an album called The Light. And they've been going pretty strong since. Had some lineup changes here and there, but they have managed to kind of stay the course. They've been one of the kind of shining lights of modern progressive rock now, again, since the mid-90s, and they show no signs of slowing down whatsoever. Yes, they take their influence from the great bands of the 70s, like Genesis and Gentle Giant and Yes and that sort of thing, but I think they also bring their own kind of characteristic to the table. They're also big fans of the Beatles too. So if you like your prog, very tuneful, very melodic, with loads of Hammond organ, Moog synthesizer, mellotrons, crazy acrobatic guitar work, lead bass, lots of really big bass grooves, nimble drumming, and fantastic vocal harmonies, you've come to the right place. And if you've never heard of Spocks Beard before, instead of putting a comment in below saying, never heard of these guys, never listened to these guys, well, go out, check out a couple songs, then come back and report and see what you think, right? So they've got 13 albums, 13 studio albums, which is what we're going to be looking at today. I will say pretty hard to rank these because I've been listening to these guys since they first came out. I'm a big fan. All their albums are pretty strong. There's a couple that are not quite up to par with the rest of them, but it's really hard to separate these. They're all really good. My order could change just about any day. So just because something is kind of down further on the list doesn't mean I don't really love it a lot, because I do like all these albums. But like I said, there's a handful of them that are easily the kind of the cream of the crop, as I always say. And the others are still really, really solid and really enjoyable. But, you gotta put them in some kind of order, right? So I'm going to start with my number 13. I've actually changed these a couple times already, and I'm just doing it again right now. Going to go with 2005's. Well, you know what? Before we even go there, let me just tell you who's in and who has been in the band. Okay, so right now in the band is Alan Morse on guitar, not to be confused with or not related to Steve Morse, guitarist for the Dixie Dregs and Deep Purple. You got Dave Meros on bass guitar. You got Ryo Okamoto on keyboards. And Ted Leonard on lead vocals. Yes, that Ted Leonard used to be in Enchant, or is Enchant even still like existence? I don't even know, but he's been the singer now for Spocks Beard for a couple albums. Past members, Nick DiVirgilio, drums, as well as vocals. Okay, Neal Morris, again, not related to Steve Morse, brother of Alan Morse. Keyboards, lead vocals, songwriting, some guitar. Neal now fronts his own solo band and the Neal Morris Band. He's also in Transatlantic. He's also in Flying Colors. Okay, Jimmy Keegan, formerly on drums. Okay. And John Ballard. I don't remember what John Ballard played. What was he? Was he a drummer too? I don't know. Right now, I don't think... It looks like the drum chair is kind of like in flux right now. Okay, they've had since, so how this worked, kind of like the Genesis story. So the original band was the two Morse brothers, okay, Nick DiVirgilio, Dave Meros, and eventually Ryo Okamoto. Neal wound up leaving the band, okay, to go on a solo career, became a born-again Christian, wanted to do his own thing. Nick got up from behind the drum kit to take over lead vocals, all right, in came Jimmy Keegan. Okay, and then eventually Nick wound up leaving. He plays with a bunch of other acts. He also was doing the Cirque du Soleil thing. So, very busy guys in these bands, very notable musicians, but a great band. So anyway, back to the ranking. All right, so I'm going to go with 2005's Octane. This was the second album with Nick on lead vocals. I'm not as big on the two albums that the band did post Neal leaving the band. They seem to kind of drift a little bit in kind of like the type of music they wanted to play. They went for a much more kind of like, catchy, hook-laden rock. It's still kind of prog, but little bit different. The two albums they did immediately after Neal left and when Nick took over the vocal slot. This is one of them. This is the second one. They're good albums. They're fun albums. They're not quite, to me, they're a little more straightforward sounding than some of the earlier stuff and some of the later stuff. But they're still fine albums. Like here, you got a lot of like lengthy tunes. The Ballet of the Impact and She Is Everything. Good melodies. Nick's a great singer as well, so there was never an issue with the vocals not being solid. I think they just missed Neal's writing, the songwriting. Neal had a penchant for writing tremendous hooks. Okay, like I said, he's a big Beatles fan, and those great soaring vocal harmonies matched up with all the vintage-style prog rock, kind of missing here. Same thing on Feel Euphoria from 2003. This was the first album that came out right after Nick took over the drum slot. Again, some good songs on here. You got A Guy Named Sid, A Lengthy Suite. You got Carry On. The Bottom Line. Title track Feel Euphoria is a lot of fun. Good tune. Good solid album. These are good albums. Just not, when you talk about top shelf Spocks Beard, those two albums for me are not quite there. Not quite there. So much better on this album, 2006's self-titled Spocks Beard. I think they kind of got back to doing what they really did best here. All right, another really good album here. On a Perfect Day, very cool. Skeletons at the Feast. What else? With Your Kiss, All That's Left. Hereafter's a fun track. And then it's got the ending multi-part suite, As Far as the Mind Can See. Very cool. This band does a lot of epic, like multi-part suites, tracks, that sort of thing. So if you dig that sort of thing, you've come to the right place. All right, 2010, X. Another fine album. I believe this is the last album that Nick sang on before he split. All right, Edge of the In-Between, Kamikaze, The Emperor's Clothes, fun song. Then you got Jaws of Heaven, nice epic long track. Good stuff on here. Good, accessible, modern prog rock. Loads of keyboards. Loads of keyboards. You love Mellotron, like I said. Mellotron, Moog, Hammond organ, all that sort of thing. Woo! Mr. Okamoto lays it all on there. And Alan Morse, really good guitar player. He's got like a real kind of wild style, kind of like Steve Vai-ish. Maybe not quite as technical, but he's got a very unpredictable player. Very good stuff. All right, next up. So now we're going to go on to some of the albums where we've got Ted Leonard on vocals, which are very good. He's a good songwriter. Obviously, if you're a fan or familiar with the Enchant stuff, you know that band always had really catchy songs. So he brings that in a fine voice in the vocal slot. 2015's The Oblivion Particle. Very strong album. Most of these, a good chunk of these are on Inside Out Records, by the way. Just so you know. Tides of Time. Minion. Let's listen to this morning. Minion is a kick-ass song. What else here? A Better Way to Fly. Get Out While You Can. To Be Free Again. Good stuff. Very strong album. As is the next one, coming in at number 8. Their most recent album from 2018, Noise Floor. A bunch of these are actually double disc sets, so you get like extra tracks and live stuff and all this kind of, fun things right here. To Breathe, Another Day. What Becomes of Me, Somebody's Home. The Excellent Beginnings. Box of Spiders. So This Is Life, all right? And you got some, like I said, a bonus disc of what they call the cutting room floor stuff, so additional tracks. Get your money's worth with these Inside Out Records releases, right? So that's a good one, coming in at number 8. Coming in at number 7, I believe this was this the first? Yes, this was the first album with Ted on vocals, Brief Nocturnes and Dreamless Sleep. Epic stuff right here. This, for me, is their best album since Neal left the band. Also their first one with Ted. I Know Your Secret, A Treasure Abandoned. Waiting for Me, Something Very Strange, Hiding Out, good stuff, Afterthoughts, Again, all sorts of bonus material on here as well. Got a double disc set. Cool cover too. Really memorable stuff. Tons of hooks. and Spocks Beard, not really heavy. They do have their rocking out points, but I will say, a lot of the more modern prog bands, they did a nice variety of, heavy, soft, melodic, poppy, kind of mix it all in there. Very, very cool. All right, so now from here on in, this is all the Neal Morris era, which, they're classic albums. And, I have a lot of history with these. This is one of those bands that during the 90s, when I wasn't listening to a ton of metal, I was busy with Spocks Beard and Echo-Lyn and the Flower Kings and Glass Hammer and Anglagard and, the usual suspects like Jethro Tull and Rush and King Crimson and Gentle Giant, yes, Genesis, so on and so forth. I was all about prog in the 90s before I got back into metal again right about 1999. And The Kindness of Strangers, 1998. Fantastic album. Lots of memorable tracks. The Good Don't Last. Nice epic long suite to start things off. In the Mouth of Madness, another signature tune of theirs. Cakewalk on Easy Street, the incredible acoustic Tender June. Strange World, Harm's Way, and another little long tune called Flow. Very good stuff. They especially they did it more often back in the day than they do now. But because they're such big fans of Gentle Giant, they used to do these like multi-vocal part harmonies, almost like these kind of a cappella fugue type things. Very, very cool. Again, if you love when Gentle Giant did that, it's kind of cool to hear that in a more modern band. All right, next up, going to go with their 2000 release, V or 5, whichever you want to call it. Another favorite of mine. I listened to this to death back in the day. At the End of the Day, kickoff track on here, a great opening number. So memorable, so anthemic. You got Revelation. All right, Thoughts Part 2? All right, I'll mention it again coming up in a little bit. But they like to do these little almost tributes to Gentle Giant. You remember the kind of multi-vocal harmony thing that I was talking about before? Well, they would do these songs called Thoughts, which thoughts are beating, thoughts are beating, so kind of like what Gentle Giant used to do back in the day, where I had all the members of the band singing these, kind of vocals in counterpoint, right, putting it together like an a cappella thing. Well, that's what Spocks Beard did as a tribute to Gentle Giant on the Thought songs. All on a Sunday, another really great anthem from the band, very, very memorable. Goodbye to Yesterday, they always would drop in a really tender kind of like acoustic ballad on a lot of their albums, and then the fantastic 27-minute The Great Nothing. Amazing epic track. So, again, it's hard to put together a long song like that that's going to keep your attention span kind of entrenched, right? Spocks Beard knows how to do it. Okay? The Great Nothing. A lot of peaks and valleys, great vocal harmonies, fantastic musicianship. Good stuff, people. Good stuff. All right, next up, this might rank a little higher for some people. I dig it a lot. I kind of like a couple other albums better, but this is really good. This is the last album they did with Neal Morris before he left. Their double album set, their big concept album release, Snow. Okay? If you're a fan of Genesis, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway and that sort of thing, I think you'll dig this. It's all one big long storyline with different characters and what have you. It's kind of dark in spots. It's a little more serious for the band, but still plenty of catchy tracks. A lot of them, right? What do we got here? Total 26 tracks in total. So here it's more like shorter pieces put together to tell a story. It's a good one. Really well produced. Probably up to that point, the band's most accomplished work from a production, kind of overall presentation, right? Because it's a great sounding album. I just like a couple others a little bit more because, there's a lot of material there, but it's again, a great concept album from the last, 20, 25 years or so. So that comes in at number 4. Coming in at number 3 for me, going to go with Day for Night. Another album, when it came out, man, I could not get enough of this, and it's just so damn catchy. So many great sing-along songs. The title track. Go out, if you haven't heard this band, go out and Google or YouTube the title track, Day for Night. It's just such a catchy song, but it's all prog. Great stuff. You got the Wonderful Gibberish, you got Skin, Distance to the Sun, soaring epic song, right? Crack the Big Sky, got the Gypsy. The The Healing Colors of Sound, Part 1. All sorts of good stuff. Man, so many great songs. Lay It Down. A lot of tunes on here. Shorter songs, but so memorable. Progressive rock doesn't get more memorable, in my opinion, than Spocks Beard. I mean, they know how to inject just enough pop into their symphonic, bombastic prog rock, and it just completely works. That was from 1999, by the way. Next up, number 2. Again, some people, if you've been following the band from the beginning, might rank this at number 1. I love it. It's the first one I got into. I tossed having it number 1, but my number 1 I think I like just a smidgen better. I'm going to go with 1995's debut, The Light. 4 tracks, that's it. 2 behemoths. You got the epic title track, The Light, which is great. One of the best kind of like modern day prog rock epics. Really, really good. Go the Way You Go, 12 minutes and change. Just amazing, just raise your lighter, raise your cell phone, just kind of sit and wave your arms. It's a great anthem. Great addicting harmonies, man. Just addictive harmonies. You got The Water, 23 minutes and change, another bombastic, epic proportion tune. And then On the Edge, shortest one on the album, it's 6:11. Great stuff. A young band trying to figure out, and they totally knocked it out of the park on the debut. It's just really good, fully realized stuff there. And then on their second album, their sophomore release, I actually think I like just a little bit more. 1996's Beware of Darkness, of course, named after the great George Harrison song, and they do a cover of it on here. But and it's fantastic. But here we have the original Thoughts, their tribute to Gentle Giant. That's on here. You got the impeccable The Doorway, which again, you talk about like choruses and vocal harmonies that you just can't get out of your head. Just listen to The Doorway. Fantastic song. Oh, what else? Walking on the Wind, another totally memorable song. Waste Away. Love Waste Away. Again, I mentioned before about how every album, especially early on, would have like kind of like an acoustic style ballad that just has like, melodies to die for. Hooks that just never end. Time Has Come, Chautauqua, man, all sorts of great stuff on here. A great album. These are all great albums. So let me reiterate here. So in case you're new to Spocks Beard, you may want to go investigate a couple. I would say, I would want you to get some of the new stuff, but I say if you're going to go after the classic early stuff, man, Beware of Darkness is my number 1. The Light, number 2. Number 3, Day for Night. Number 4, Snow. Number 5 is 5 or V. Those 5 right there, cannot go wrong with them. My number 6, The Kindness of Strangers. Excellent. Number 7, Brief Nocturnes and Dreamless Sleep. Number 8, Noise Floor. Those are 2 more recent ones. Love them. Oblivion Particle, also fairly recent. Number 9. Number 10 is X. Number 11, X10. Geez, I didn't do that on purpose, guys. I'm sitting there like, it's amazing how that worked out. Number 11, Spocks Beard, self-titled from 2006. Number 12, Feel Euphoria from 2003. And number 13, Octane from 2005. Again, you can get any of these. You will not be disappointed. Really great stuff. I will say, the Octane and Feel Euphoria albums, while they are fun, they're probably the least like kind of, they're a little different than all the other ones. They're just, to me, they're a little more straightforward. I remember at the time when those came out, some people were even saying, it's kind of Spocks Beard doing kind of like an alternative rock thing. I don't know about that, but I can kind of see where they're coming from. But the rest, they're still good albums, and the rest are just fantastic. So you just cannot go wrong with these guys. So check them out if you haven't, all right? Coming up over the weekend, going to do the same thing with the Flower Kings. Got, hopefully I can get to it this weekend, Rory Gallagher. Okay, we got King Diamond, top 10 songs with Brian Slagle of Metal Blade Records and Steve Keeler from Rock Fantasy. Also, Jack Toledano's coming on board again. He and I are going to talk about our favorite 25 radio hits of the 80s. So that's all coming this weekend. What else? Oh, Hawkwind. Can't forget Hawkwind. Hawkwind's coming too. I hope I can squeeze them in this weekend as well. I haven't figured out how I'm doing the Hawkwind thing yet because they've got like a million albums. I have a ton of them, but I think I'm missing some. But I think to make it a little bit easier, I might do my like top 10 or 15 albums. I think that might be a little more, a little safer to do because, man, the Hawkwind catalog is something else, right? So as you fans probably know. So that's what's coming up over the next couple days, so you don't want to miss any of it. Also, tomorrow, 1970, favorite album. Don't want to forget that, right? Very important. 69 was fun. 70, just as tough. All right. So 69 was fun. It's Friday, guys. Sorry. Anyway, visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're on YouTube all the damn time. We will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good Friday evening wherever you may be. Be safe and be well. And I'll see you over the weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.